Hi, everybody. This is Saad for the Sad Truth. Anti-discrimination laws are in place to protect individuals from becoming victims of bigotry. And so, if, for example, you're applying for a job and somebody decides that they don't like your race or nationality or ethnicity or biological sex or sexual orientation, and no, you can't pray your gay away, each of those characteristics are immutable parts of who you are as an individual, and therefore to systematically exhibit bigotry towards you on one or more of these traits is something that a just society has decided is unacceptable, and accordingly we will punish. When it comes to protecting individuals based on their religious and or political beliefs, that's a bit more complicated because those are not immutable parts of your identity. You may be born into a religious heritage, but it's not something that is encoded within your genes. It is not something that is an immutable part of who you are. You can decide once you are able to make that decision, certainly as an adult, whether you wish to adhere to that religious identity along with the religious precepts within that religion or not. And then, of course, people have the perfectly reasonable right to judge you based on those beliefs. So, for example, if you are somebody who thinks that evolution is a bunch of nonsense according to your religion, as was once explained to me by a rabbi, well, then maybe it might be difficult for you to apply for that directorship at the scientific institute to which you were hoping to land that job. Because if that institute in question is a serious scientific institute, especially if there are evolutionary principles that are going to be prevalent within your work at that institute, then your religious beliefs, your anti-evolution religious beliefs, might be difficult to reconcile. And so it would be bordering on the insane for people to not judge you based on those religious beliefs. If your religious beliefs suggest that if a child is afflicted with a disease, you should not engage in any medical interventions, but instead you should be praying to God in a particular way, and then God will decide whether the child will live or not, well, then maybe that residency in pediatrics might not be the right path for you to take. And it would be perfectly logical for somebody making that decision to use your religious beliefs, in this case, in deciding whether you are fit for that job or not. If you are looking to land a job as a constitutional lawyer, but it turns out that the religious doctrines by which you live your life are perfectly inconsistent with nearly everything that is enshrined within, say, the American Constitution, well, then it makes perfect sense for people to question whether you are fit to be, a constitutional lawyer. If your religion says that homosexuals and religious minorities and women and non-believers should not have equal rights, well, then it's going to be difficult to see how we could reconcile that with the notion of everybody has equal rights. And so there are all sorts of contexts where it is perfectly grotesque. Well, in all contexts, it is perfectly grotesque to judge someone based on the skin color, their skin color, but perfectly rational to judge you based on the contents of your belief system. And so this is why it's really important that we move away from this reflex that any criticism, any rejection, any ridicule of somebody's religious beliefs is tantamount to bigotry and racism and discrimination and so on. I mean, what does it mean to have freedom of speech if you can't say to somebody, I despise your religious beliefs? I mean, freedom of speech is not there to tell somebody, oh my God, you have such beautiful eyes, you're such a wonderful person, you're so great. You don't need the protection of freedom of speech to shower somebody with a tsunami of compliments. You need freedom of speech to tell somebody some ugly truths, some sad truths. And so let's try to reclaim the discourse from the ostrich brigade and the regressive leftists. No ideology should ever be afforded an inch of protection in a free society. If you choose to live in free, secular, liberal democracies, then the first tenet that you must accept is that others are perfectly within their rights to despise your religious beliefs. Now, this doesn't mean that we should go out of our way to be nasty to one another. We should always seek to be polite, kind, gentle, respectful of one another. But that certainly doesn't mean that I can't say, you know what, your religion has ideas A, B, C, D, all of which I abhor. And that's life. That's called living in a pluralistic society. So there you go, people. Hope I've given you some things to think about. Let's trash that ostrich brigade. Talk to you soon. Take care. Ciao.